So what have we generated in our project? Well, the first part I'll show you is something that connects with what Felix talked about this morning with ITS 2.0. The very first draft of our project looked at what are the items that are checked by metrics, and we found a list of over 150 things that are checked. Clearly too many to use, but then we found a smaller set that are commonly used. And these we proposed as a way to exchange information about quality, and those have been standardized in ITS 2.0. And they're designed to provide a base level of interoperability between systems so that you can know that somebody says, calls something extra white space and somebody calls something additional white space, and you can correlate these things and exchange information. For anyone who's interested, there's the URL. You can look it up. I won't go into details, but there's the list of categories, and then a 27th one that was added in ITS that didn't fit in MQM, initially, multidimensional quality metrics. Well, the next step was to create what we call the full MQM. You get a bowl of spaghetti from it. You get this horrible hierarchy of issues that represent what people are checking out there. It's too complex for anyone to implement, but it represents a union of the practices of what everyone's looking at. So we know that's too big, so MQM supports a way to subset. And so you see this is our core, which represents the most common issues. And you can declare different profiles that represent your particular needs, and then you can see how they compare or don't compare. For instance, this is what SAE J2450 looks like in MQM. And it actually reveals some problems with SAE J2450. The other thing we're doing with this is bringing in the notion of dimensions, which is, these are derived from ISO standards. Dimensions are ways to quantify aspects of the translation product that's expected. Some of them are obvious. What language should it be? What's the subject field? Others aren't necessarily always answered, like what style should it be? What's the purpose of it? But each of these has an impact on what you would check. And so the idea is you take those to select issues that matter for your task. I should mention also that many of these issues are ones that could potentially be detected automatically, which allows one to start seeing where issues pop up and be targeted in where you spend your review and editing effort, which currently isn't done because it's based on random selection. We have a scoring mechanism. I won't go into detail, but you can see there's this scoring mechanism with a couple parts, generates a score that you can use to compare different things. And again, it's a score relative to your specifications, which is a fairly radical departure from what's been done before. You can create profiles that are specially tuned to MT needs or to human translation needs, or one that is used to compare the two relative to a specific purpose. So as we've developed this, it's gotten a lot of feedback. We've had a number of LSPs, we've had various academic bodies, we've had client-side companies that request translation all provide feedback and make some suggestions. Kim Harris's team has actually made some suggestions that resulted in fairly substantial changes. So what's the next step forward with this? Well, we're actually handing this off to the Gala Crisp project that Serge was talking about earlier, so that this will have an ongoing existence after the Qt Launchpad project is over. We don't want this to be abandonware like many things that are developed in EU projects and then exist on a website until someone forgets to pay for the domain name registration. We want this to have a real lifetime. Next steps also involve getting together with industry to start creating shared metric definitions for specific tasks. So the medical industry, for instance, could get together and say, these are the things we check for information leaflets. We want to work to add support into various tools. There's already some built in for the ITS support. We're working to extend that. Phil Ritchie earlier mentioned that they want to add support for full MQM, and we're working on this. And we also need to do work to determine that it's valid and reliable, which is something that's never been done with translation metrics. We do have some tools already that can be tried out. There's one called Translate 5, which there's an online demo you can go and visit and try, and it allows you to do inline markup and do editing. And this is actually in use by some LSPs. For those who are more interested in the traditional scorecard approach, we have a scorecard online, and I'll provide a URL for that in a moment, where you can go in and start plugging in numbers and see how it works compared to your systems, and you can adjust the card to add or subtract issues. We also have a different scorecard, which allows you to step through text segment by segment and add issues, and it's a little more ergonomic environment. So for anyone who's interested in trying this out, you can go to the URL shown there. Well, there's two of them, one for the scorecards and one for Translate 5. And we'd encourage you to try that and provide us with feedback. We'd like to know, where have we succeeded, where haven't we? We think we have a good base, but we need people who are actually out there working with language technology to look at this and provide us feedback. And with that, I'm done, and Lucia.